an induction ceremony, and so thankful and grateful that you could be in attendance tonight. We've got an incredible class to induct again to add to our 7 laureates that we had inducted last year. So, as we've said, the business community, it's the heart and soul of our community, and this is a great way to come and celebrate those that have gone before us and the shoulders we stand on this day to build and prosper our great community. As I was coming in tonight, we're all kind of plugged into social media these days, and it was kind of a blessing from God that He'd given me on Twitter, of all things. Twitter and Facebook and the internet and all the great innovations we have in this world. But it was a quote that I felt really summed up this entire evening to me, and it's about leadership and management and what this community means to us, jobs, and what this business community and economic development means. But here's the quote. It says, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. That was John Quincy Adams, our 6th President of the United States, probably one of the greatest diplomats in our country. So that's what it's all about, and it sums it up for me as great leadership. As it's stated, tonight we can't do this event without a lot of thanks, and a lot of hard work goes into this event. And I want to thank all those that have been a part of this, putting this event on, and certainly our chamber staff with Janice and her entire team. I want to give them a round of applause. Janice and your group, thank you. As well, I do not want to forget Wiregrass Church, Troy Fountain, Clinton, their entire team. This is just a fabulous facility and a great way to hold this event. So thank you to Wiregrass Church as well, Troy and your team. Thank you, Troy. And then also the Dothan Area Chamber of Commerce Board and the Dothan Area Young Professionals, and you'll hear from them later in the evening. Another special thanks I want to put out tonight will be to Troy University. They've given us a number of support here tonight. I want to thank those from Troy University that are in attendance. That's Dean Judson Edwards. He's Dean of the Sorrell Business School, as well as Skip Ames, our Associate Dean here on the Dothan campus, as well as Dr. Don Jeffrey and a host of others. So thank the Troy University folks here tonight as well. And we have a special announcement as well, which I think is very fitting tonight. In attendance tonight is Dr. Barbara Minsky. And this is a very special award to her. She was just awarded the Wallace Malone Award at the Troy University, the entire system for faculty. It's the most recognized faculty that's awarded annually to the most recognized service-oriented faculty member. Dr. Barbara Minsky, I know she's here. We can turn up. I'd like for her to stand and acknowledge you in this award. Dr. Barbara Minsky. Thank you, Doctor, for all your hard work. And also, we have many other special guests. I know Mayor Schmitz and a number of our elected officials are with us as well. We thank you for your leadership and service, as well as Tim Wilder, our Superintendent of Education, and a host of others. I know Paul Lee's here, and anybody that serves us as a public servant, thank you for your service to this country. And now I would like to call Dr. Jim Sanders, the senior pastor of First United Methodist Church, for our invocation. Jim.
I think that means, Jeff, hurry up, people are hungry. Pray quickly, let's eat. May we pray. Lord our God, for the joy of this day and of this event, for the promise of your constant love and strong care, for the gift of food and the blessings of friendship and community, we give you heartfelt thanks. Since you are the God of heaven and earth, how can we keep from speaking your praise? With humble hearts this evening, we offer you our gratitude for being able to share life with Eustace, Jesse, John, Harry, John, and for the extravagant food of which we're about to partake. Grace us, we pray, with your spirit and your vision for this community and your kingdom. Amen. You may eat.
Okay, if you haven't finished your meal, please continue. No problem. It's about to, we're going to get the program started. As I said, Definitely want to thank the Pepe Companies tonight, which catered our meal tonight. Let's give Vic and Lori Pemberton and their family a round of applause. Thank you, Vic. Excellent meal tonight. And as a kid growing up in Dothan, I think it's amazing to look around our community and see the tremendous growth we've had through the years. And I think we want to give everybody a round of applause for the great progress and growth we've had in this community. Thank you to everybody in this room. Tonight is a special night, and before we begin the induction ceremony, we would like to take a moment to recognize the Dothan Business Hall of Fame first class of 2011, and want to thank those 2011 laureates, which we inducted last year at this occasion. And that was Mac Dove, Dr. Paul Flowers, Wallace Malone Sr., Richmond McClintock Sr., and James Grant III. And tonight we have Mayor Jimmy Grant in the audience. We'd like to recognize him. Jimmy, if you'd please stand. We can recognize you. Jimmy. Thank you, sir. And tonight our hearts are heavy. We would also like to pay a special tribute to two of our 2011 laureates who passed away this past year. Miss Agnes Simpson from Wolf Radio and Mayor Alfred Saliba from the Alfred Saliba Corporation. Please look at the screens for a tribute to these two fine individuals.
Some people are extra special, and there is no one as special as Agnes Dowling Simpson. She is the owner of Wolf Radio. She and her husband, R.A. Dowling, founded Wolf in 1947. Miss Agnes has never backed away from her beliefs. During the civil rights era, she aired a black gospel show on Sunday, a broadcast opposed by many, but let's just say Miss Agnes will always stick to her beliefs, and the program still airs today. Following the death of her husband, Miss Agnes carried on the family business, saying she had 4 mouths to feed. She broke the barrier into, at that time, a traditionally male-dominant world. She filed for the first FM radio station in Dothan, was the first woman elected to the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce, the first woman to join the Kiwanis Club, and the first selected as Alabama Broadcaster of the Year. Miss Agnes is also a recipient of the Advertising Foundation's coveted Pioneer Award. She even served in the Navy. More than a broadcaster, more than a businesswoman, Agnes Simpson is in a league of her own.
That's great, Agnes.
I just am grateful to have been able to have been in this community and continue in this community, and I hope I'll be here a lot longer, and I love it.
Amen. Thank you, ma'am. That's good. Round of applause.
The one thing that best describes Alfred Saliba is his work ethic. Alfred Joseph Saliba was born in Dothan in February 1930. His family roots in the city already strong. His grandfather was a Lebanese entrepreneur. Alfred Saliba started working at the age of 13 and has never looked back. A graduate of the University of Alabama, Mr. Saliba was later a second lieutenant in the U.S. Air Force. He established a building and land development company, co-founded numerous industries, and has served on the board of directors of Regions Bank. And that is just a slim portion of his resume. Mr. Saliba has served on many charitable boards and in many civic organizations. The Alfred Saliba Services Center was his vision. Hundreds have obtained a GED, and thousands have found jobs through the center's efforts, not to mention the medical care offered. Oh, did we mention he was twice elected mayor of Dothan? Governor Fob James proclaimed a day in 1997 as Alfred Saliba Day. And somewhere along this busy road, he even found time to marry his wife Henrietta back in 1955. Alfred Joseph Saliba, an humble man who succeeds in business, but does even a better job at caring for others.
I was having lunch the other day with a friend of mine, Wallace, and he leaned over and said, "Have you written your speech yet?" And I said, "Speech? I didn't know I was supposed to make a speech." "Oh, yeah, 15 to 30 minutes, what Janet told me." He said, "I talked to her at the chamber, and so when I got home, that was yesterday, I immediately called Janet. I said, 'Now, Janet, you need to tell me something. 15 minutes or 30 minutes?' She said, 2 minutes. So I didn't have a lot of preparation to do. But I wanted to, if you will forgive me, I wanted to open with a few personal remarks. A few things I want to say, and that's the only way I can say it. These past 4 months have been the toughest 4 months of my 81 years. And had I not had a wife that has stood by me for 56 years, and children and grandchildren, brother and sister, and all the rest of the family, probably would have been a different outcome. Henry and I have been married for 56 years. You would think that would be long enough to work out all your differences and problems and everything else, but it might take another 56 years. But she's been a real trooper. She's been by my side every day of the 4 months, almost every hour of the day. And I got to thinking about feeling sorry for myself during the early part of those 4 months. And then the more I thought about it, I had a lot of time. I wasn't going to the office. The more I thought about it, the more I started counting my blessings. And my blessings far outweighed diversity. I started thinking about how fortunate I am to have lived in a country that's the greatest country this world has ever produced. To live in a town like Dothan, Alabama, to live in a town like Dothan, Alabama, where we have so many exemplary actions of citizens of this city. I've been able to come back home where my family is, so that I have been surrounded by my family and surrounded by love and comfort and support. The business leadership in this area is superb. The business people, men and women, know one thing: you can't be too busy to help out in the community. And I think most of our businessmen and women are very actively in the service of the committee. We have a chamber that's progressive and forward-thinking, and a young executive group that's relatively new, but they are moving up fast, and we are blessed to have them helping our community grow. This award tonight is very meaningful to me. And if I talk over 2 minutes, you have to blame Wallace for that. I'm honored by the award, yet humbled because I know a lot of people in this community certainly deserve to be recognized. So I thank the chamber, I thank the young executives, people who were responsible for putting this all together. And the best part of living in Dothan, Alabama, There's a number of people of faith that live here and live that faith. And it helps the city continue to grow and move up. If you have leadership in a committee in a city and they're not that concerned about people in the lower brackets, then it won't be a very good community. The businessmen and women have to take the slack up, and they do here. And what's behind that is their faith. So I want to tonight thank the Chamber, the young executives, and my family, and all of you out here who have come tonight. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Trip Wheelis. I'm the chairman of the Dothan Area Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. We have an exciting evening planned. The Dothan Business Hall of Fame was established in May of 2011 by the Dothan Area Chamber and the Dothan Area Young Professionals. The Hall's mission, the Hall of Fame's mission is to recognize local business leaders who've made an impact on the community by providing free enterprise system entrepreneurship. To honor these individuals that have spent a lifetime demonstrating civic leadership, philanthropy, and humanitarianism. Our hall will be located shortly in the Dothan Hall of Fame. In the Dothan Area Chamber. And we want you guys to come out. We're going to have an unveiling in the next couple of weeks. The plaques are out for last year's laureates and this year's laureates. I have to say, on a personal level, growing up here, like Jeff said a minute ago, growing up as a citizen in Dothan all my life, it's special to be here with these 5 families tonight. I've had the pleasure of knowing each of these families in some level over my lifetime. The Forresters and the Halls. I grew up with the grandchildren that are being nominated tonight, went to church with the Hall family. The Bishop Newton Lee family I'm still very close to today, and it's an honor for me to be up here with them. The Watson family, Mr. Watson is still a very important part of our chamber and helps us with our economic development efforts, and his son-in-law is on our board of directors, and I'm good friends with his son as well. And last but not least, the Glanton family, Commissioner Glanton's former wife, Miss Glanton, gave me, I believe, my second spanking at Montana Street when I was about in 5th grade. So she was a great lady and served this community well. On behalf of our nearly 1,000 members, our board of directors, I want to welcome you to this event. We're glad you're here. Thank you for coming.
Welcome. I'm Jared Barfield, the chairman of the Dothan Area Young Professionals. The Dothan Area Young Professionals are honored to partner with the Chamber for this Business Hall of Fame recognition program. With a mission to enrich our community by uniting and developing young professionals, we feel being a part of this program will only enhance our objective and give us the opportunity to further support participation in activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. We've got great leadership here. Jared and Tripp's the chairman of our Dothan Area Chamber of Commerce, and Jared leads a really, really exciting group within the Chamber. If many of you don't know about it, it's the Dothan Area Young Professionals. But it's a program that we have within the Chamber that really helps us cultivate and grow future leaders of our community, and it's a great, great program. And so now, without further ado, let's begin the induction ceremony tonight. Our first laureate was not a Dothan native, but after moving here, he spent the remaining 60 years of his life, literally up to age 93, always with a vision for the future. He was continuously and deeply committed to championing those initiatives which he felt were beneficial to our entire community and beyond to our region. Besides building a very successful multi-state laundry, dry cleaning, uniform rental, and linen supply business, which he founded in 1946, his diverse and completely voluntary endeavors covered the gamut from humanitarian to education to cultural, to industrial development, and included dozens of years of spearheading such regional projects as waterway transportation and improved air service. Please join me in honoring Eustace Bishop.
In 1946, Eustace Bishop moved his young family from Atlanta to Dothan, the hometown of his wife, Mary Alice Newton. He came to build a laundry and dry cleaning business from scratch, characterizing himself as an adopted son of the community, paying his civic rent by rolling up his sleeves and putting his nose to the wheel. Mr. Bishop immersed himself in major civic projects for more than 50 years. You probably could never quote Mr. Bishop as saying mission accomplished. He tended to view all significant endeavors as works in progress, requiring someone to persevere and champion them, whether popular or controversial. A case in point is his 27 years and 12 terms as president of the Tri-Rivers Development Association, working with Congress and the Corps of Engineers to ensure navigable waterways for the tri-state area, promoting the location of such industries as the paper mill and nuclear plant. Perhaps Mr. Bishop's signature achievement was spearheading the local creation of one of the nation's first airport authorities, which built the $18 million Dothan Airport with no taxpayer money. The Bishop Stevens Terminal was named in his honor after serving as authority chairman for 16 years. In an interview after receiving the Landmark Heritage Award in 1986, Betty Baggett was giving Mr. Bishop credit for all he had done for the community. But as was his character, he deflected those accolades to his fellow community leaders and then offered a challenge to all citizens who might follow in his footsteps.
Well, let's just say I was in on the action at that time. I certainly don't want to take credit for having brought any one industry in, but in the 50s, we did do a good job with attracting industry, diversified industry. It took a great deal of community doing, the cooperation of a lot of people to bring it about. Makes you feel real proud of the fact that you might have had a little bit to do with the growth, and particularly with encouraging people to participate in that growth by doing whatever needs to be done to keep this an active community. My message to the young people today, if they want to change the kind of community that they live in, they're going to have to be willing to pay a price for it.
When my father was 34 years old, living in Atlanta, 16 years in a successful insurance business, he told his mother, my grandmother, that he was going to move his family to Dothan and build a laundry plant. She said, "Eustace, have you ever heard of anyone in the laundry business amounting to a tinker's hoot?" But he just laughed and said, "Well, Mother, if that were the case, then maybe I'll be good for the industry." And he was good for the industry. He was a good businessman. He rose to the top in his profession. He spoke at state and national conventions. He enabled 2 brothers and a brother-in-law to get in business for themselves in 3 states. And today, 2nd and 3rd generation bishops are still at the reins. But I guess you say that his real motivation, his real hobby was community development. He did not hunt, he didn't fish, he didn't play golf. He just had a vision for what he thought the community could be, and he persevered for years working on his projects without any political or personal financial gain whatsoever. He was as honest and ethical and moral and generous as a man can be. Even in the early days, he had to borrow money to make his church pledge. He was an avid supporter of First Methodist from the very beginning. He was on the committee who raised the money to move from Foster Street downtown to the present location today. He was head of the Board of Trustees when they built the major expansion in 1970, and he was head of the committee that got Wesley Manor located in Dothan. He remained an avid contributor to First Methodist for 65 years until his death in 2005. You know, First Methodist Church has got a great motto. We are drinking from wells that we didn't dig. And of course, that same thing applies to all of us in the community. I'd like to think that Eustace Bishop, my father, actually did dig some of those wells.
Accepting the award on behalf of Mr. Eustace Bishop is his grandson, Harrison Bishop.
On behalf of my family, I'd like to thank the Chamber and the Dothan Area Young Professionals. My grandfather would be honored by this award. Although he wasn't known for taking credit easily, I know that he would be humbled as a part of the group of community leaders being inducted into the Dothan Business Hall of Fame tonight. When I was researching Granddaddy's life of service, trying to put together, along with my family, the application for this award, I was truly awestruck. The amount of effort Granddaddy put in over the years, as well as the profound effect he had on the regional community, is remarkable. His list of accomplishments is way too long for me to try and summarize for you tonight. During the process of researching his life, I found several letters written to Granddaddy as well as about Granddaddy, and there were some great quotes in those letters. One of those really stuck out to me, and it was by Joe Donifro, the architect, in 1977. Mr. Donifro said, "If someone were to ask me how they could improve the economy, social qualities, and opportunities in Dothan, I would suggest that they review the many contributions that Eustace has made to this area and to try to emulate what he has done." That quote made me wonder, can someone in my generation, my age, in this day and age, truly emulate what Granddaddy accomplished? Things are different today. We have demanding 24-hour jobs that never take a break. We have all kinds of technological distractions and smartphones that keep us constantly in contact and can consume us and really all of our time. Considering all this, is it too late for people my age, young professionals, to get involved in their community? In Granddaddy's interview with Betty Baggett that we saw just a moment ago, he gave some advice. He said, "My message to the young people of today is, if you want to change the kind of community you live in, you're going to have to pay a price for it." In reflecting on Granddaddy's life of service, I think he was right. Granddaddy and others like him made a sacrifice. He chose to forgo other activities, many of which would have been worthwhile, including his own career, bettering his own career and his own business. He did that for the betterment of his community, for the betterment of the people in his community and their lives and businesses. When Granddaddy moved to Dothan and began working in the community, he was already 34 years old, with a young family and a new business. I think he had plenty of distractions and demands on his time. Considering the difference he made using a fountain pen and his own money, flying himself around the country to recruit business to Dothan, I can only imagine what he could have done with an iPhone. It's occurred to me that anyone can make that choice, but few do. It isn't an easy choice, it's a sacrifice. It's the people who make the harder choice, the sacrifice, that make a difference. Granddaddy made that choice when he moved to Dothan in 1946, and I would believe that he would make that same choice today. Thank you.
Our next laureate was born in 1899 and attended Alabama Polytechnic Institute, now Auburn University, for 3 years before returning home to begin the establishment of the sanitary dairy at the age of 28. He was also the co-founder of Forrester Farms. We now honor William Jess Forrester.
William Jesse Forrester was born in Geneva County in 1899. He attended the school that would become known as Auburn University. Then Jesse came home and left his footprint like few others. At the age of 28, he began working to establish Sanitary Dairy. He was co-owner of Forrester Farms. Jesse was president of the Dothan Area Chamber of Commerce in 1942 and continued to serve on its board of directors for over 25 years. He helped with the development of Napier Field as a World War II Army training installation. Jesse was a founding board member of what is now Southeast Alabama Medical Center, a member of the Dothan Planning Commission, a Rotarian, recognized posthumously in 1999 as a Paul Harris Fellow. He was on the board of the Public Library, a founding chairman of Dothan's University of Alabama Center, and on several boards including First National South Trust Bank. The Dothan Eagle once wrote about Jesse Forrester, saying, "He is invaluable to the chamber in the development of the wiregrass." Fellow Business Hall of Fame inductee Harry Hall described Jesse Forrester as compassionate, kind, a visionary, a worker, a good husband and father, loyal, intensely devoted to his community, a man among men, Mr. Hall said. Jesse passed away in 1975 at the age of 75. And while he may be gone, the ideals Jesse Forrester lived by are the very ones most of us strive to live by today.
I'm Sue Ellen Warren. I have two stories that I can share with you about my grandfather, Jesse Forrester. My grandfather Forrester started Sanitary Dairy with just 4 milk cows. Eventually, he grew his herd to over 300 Jersey cows. Along with the Jersey cows, my grandfather also had quite a number of registered Jersey bulls. One of these bulls was named Jester Basil Sleeper Philpale. Now, Jester Basil was a multiple grand champion in 3 states. And the story my grandmother told was that Jester Basil had air conditioning in his stall before she and my grandfather had air conditioning in their home. I can tell you, I must think my grandmother had to bite her tongue as she thought about Jester Basil's blue ribbons blowing in the breeze over his air-conditioned stall. I can also tell you that I spent some time in my grandparents' home as a child, specifically in their den as we watched the Lawrence Welk show together. And I don't recall that their home was oppressively hot. So at some point, my grandfather had the air conditioning put in for her. I am pleased to report. My second story is that I have learned my grandfather was actually the first undercover boss. The story goes that my grandfather would anonymously go into stores around Dothan where the milk was being sold to make sure the dairy's delivery men were placing the milk in the coolers according to freshness. But he'd hated to leave the store without buying anything, which I totally appreciate. So he would always buy a bottle of ketchup. So my grandparents never lacked for milk and they never lacked for ketchup. Thank you, Dothan Chamber. It has been such a joy to participate in this honor. Thank you so much.
Accepting the award for his grandfather tonight is William Jess Forrester II. Welcome.
thank you, Dothan Chamber, and thank you, young professionals. This is a first-class event in every way. In fact, as I came in here, I went ahead and took a picture and posted it on Facebook and said as much. So great job, great job. My grandfather died when I was 6 years old, so unfortunately I did not get to know him that well. Beyond the handful of memories, the grandchild memories, I really was challenged to come up here and know what to say exactly. And so I struggled with this for a few weeks. And I wanted to attack it from a different angle anyway, rather than continue to elaborate on what he did in the business community, as is already so well stated in the program tonight. So as fate would have it, about 3 weeks ago, as I was unloading some boxes in a storage unit pursuant to our recent move to Texas, I stumbled across something that I had not seen in many years. And what it is, inside this frame, is an old yellowed newspaper editorial that appeared in the Dothan Eagle on April 2nd, 1975, shortly after his death. And as I sat outside in our unair-conditioned storage unit in the 110-degree Texas heat that Saturday reading this, I realized that what's said here is exactly what I wanted to say. And so I wanted to share some excerpts of this from you. Jesse Forrester. When Dothan, Houston County, and this entire section set about paying the obligations they owe Jesse Forrester, they will begin a task so monumental that it will seem endless. Mr. Forrester, who died Monday night, was that kind of man. Some years ago, as a birthday was approaching, it was written of Mr. Forrester that when the anniversary came around, there should be a special candle on the cake representing his interest, his work, and his support of everything that is good for Dothan, Houston County, and the Wiregrass. In civic endeavors, Mr. Forrester devoted his waking hours, talent, and worldly possessions in amounts unsurpassed by others toiling in the same vineyard. There is no way to calculate the fruits that came from his tireless, limitless, and cheerful labors. It was as though his heart sang from the sheer joy of doing for others. If stars were given to men who put the welfare, well-being, and well wishes of others first, the name of Jesse Forrester would stand out in the resulting galaxy. Jesse Forrester bequeathed sound and enduring timber to the land where he lived and to the people among whom he passed productive and wholesome years. That is because he was a good tree. So long as the best in man is remembered, Jesse Forrester will not be forgotten, no matter the length of days. The world is indeed better because he was a part of it. And the part that really struck me is right here in the middle. It said, Mr. Forrester minimizes his contributions to civic efforts because he is modest to a fault. But there are others who know better. And I believe that leads us to why I'm here tonight. There are others who know better, and you all are those others. And our family really, really appreciates this honor. And as I think of what I do remember of my grandfather, as well as my father, the modesty really jumps out at me. They were both very proud of this community, and they were both proud of the impact that they had on it. And they were also modest because, as Mr. Bishop also said, there are others who are doing so much as well. So in the spirit of humility as well as a great deal of pride, I am very happy to accept this honor on behalf of my grandfather, my father, and the Forrester and Baker families. Thank you all very much.
Our next honoree's family moved to Dothan in the late 1940s. 23 years later, after teaching and coaching in Slocum, Ashford, and Dothan City Schools, he began his own successful business career with Glanton & Son Home Building and Real Estate. Our next laureate to induct, John H. Glanton, Jr.
Perhaps the one word that best portrays John Glanton Jr. is energetic. John was born in 1923, spending his early years on a farm, and that likely instilled the work values John still lives by today. His college days at Tuskegee Institute were cut short. John left classes to defend our country during World War II. When he returned home, John began a teaching career that spanned 23 years. He then started a successful business career, like his father, becoming a home builder. In 1972, John was elected the first African-American city commissioner in Dothan's history, a seat he would retain for an unprecedented 30 years. But John's service to Dothan would reach far beyond building and selling homes, far beyond City Hall. John's years of civic service are remarkable. He served on the board of the Human Resource and Development Corporation, the Southeast Alabama Medical Center, Retired Seniors Volunteer Program, Wiregrass Rehabilitation Services, and many others. He is a member of the Dothan Rotary Club, where he is a Paul Harris Fellow. He's been awarded the Distinguished Humanitarian Award by the Arthritis Foundation, and in 2007 was honored with a lifetime membership in the Dothan Area Chamber of Commerce. John's a Mason and a member of the Men's Civic Club and is founder of the Biracial Study Group. You would think John would have slowed down a little these days, but no. John Glanton, the businessman, the city leader, the civic giver, is still going strong.
One of the proudest moments in my father's life was when he was elected as the first Black City Commissioner in Dothan, Alabama. It was a venture for him that made my mother nervous because he was a teacher for 23 years in Geneva County, Houston County, and Dothan City Schools before he decided to do this. He retired so that he could work on building his business and also become an advocate for the blacks in the community and open doors for them to be able to be involved in all walks of city life, government, business, everything. My mother was very nervous about it, and she was concerned about him doing that, but that was the only way he was going to be able to devote his full attention to his goals and have those accomplished. He had a really strong backing. The Men's Civic Club, which has been in existence for over 60 years, and he has been a member for all of that time, was one of his greatest supporters in being able to encourage and to work with him on his campaign and keep everything positive and just give him the nudge that he needed to go on and to be successful with that. He has realized his dream, and I think that everyone has profited from his, and I don't mean profit as in money, I mean profit as in building a different kind of relationship with the city of Dothan and with government and all walks of life. And he is someone who should be proud of what his accomplishments have brought him to.
Please join me in congratulating Commissioner John Glanton, Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for putting on this second annual event tonight in honoring people who you've heard a lot about tonight. And I just want to say that I want to thank them. I want to thank the president of the chamber,
And I want to thank Matt Parker, one fellow who's never slows down. And I'd like to go a little further than my daughter did, and to say that in 1972, when I decided to take this road to better and progressive situations in our city, with a paltry population of about 32,000 people. And now, with the help of all of the people, all of the more than 65,000 people that we have today, things have changed not only locally but globally. It was a great change for me. And I think that the people of Dothan were ready for a change. All 65,000 of us, we have developed and made things better and do the things that you have read about tonight and heard about tonight. But I want to let you know that it was not easy to start with, especially for me. We had to come together as one body. And I have learned a lot. I have tried to do a lot. And these 65,000 people that we have today I want to congratulate you, the city of Dothan, for standing by, being patient and helpful in all that we have done and all that we have tried to do. We have come together as one body, and we have done a lot. We have accomplished a lot. We've done a lot of things as one body in one, all 65,000 of us. But ladies and gentlemen, we could not have done that had it not been for you, your patience, and your help. We've done it, and the things that we have done as one body in one is better than what the United States Congress can do today. I want to say that these people that I represented, these constituents, people who have stood by me, urged me on, kept me going, these people are only instrument. I was an instrument of God, and they just promoted me and prompted me and that this would take place and be an active thing. And today, we can see that our city is growing. It has grown, and it's still going. But yet, there's a whole lot more that we need to do. We've got to do. And I tell you, by George, if I had to do it, I'd do it again, all over. All 88 years of me, I would do it again. So I want you to say that we appreciate what you have done, and we appreciate this honor tonight. I want to thank all of the people who have stood by me and worked with me. My family, right here at this table, number 5, have been instruments, and they have worked with me, and they have urged me on. And all the other people all over the city, where you see things that have changed and prospered, I want you to know that you were a part of it. You were all of it. I was only an instrument. And we want to thank these people for all that you have done. And I thank the chamber, and I thank the president of the chamber, the president of the board, and all of the people, the mayors, the city council, everybody that's in this battle today. We want to urge you to continue. Don't let this falter. But progress is something that you have to keep pushing forward. And I just want to thank you for what we have done in the past. And thank you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Well done, sir. Well done. Thank you. Thank you. Our next laureate, we now have a gentleman who moved to Dothan in 1911. 1946, after many years in community service, realizing the need for a savings and loan institution to provide a method of encouraging people to save money and promote home ownership. He established Dothan Federal Savings and Loan, which by 1978 grew to be the 5th largest institution in Alabama. Our next laureate that we honor is Harry Preston Hall.
Harry Preston Hall was born in 1907 and lived most of his life right here in Dothan. He worked for the Dothan Eagle from 1927 until 1945 during the historic days of the Great Depression and World War II. In 1938, Harry, while serving as Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Commerce, helped bring Dothan its first industry not connected to agriculture, the Dothan Hosiery Mill. He managed the city's first 2 national peanut festivals in 1938 and 1939. Harry wanted people to succeed financially, so he led the effort to establish Dothan Federal Savings and Loan, which by 1978 had grown to be the 5th largest business of its kind in all of Alabama. He convinced Hayes Aircraft to come to Dothan in 1957, and he worked diligently to lure other industry to the city. Burlington Mills, Twitchell, Hedstrom, Charles Manufacturing, Bud Cigar, and Wesley Manor. Like co-inductee John Glanton Jr., Harry helped found the biracial study group. Harry was a member of the Dothan Rotary Club, serving as its president in 1934 and 1935. He helped establish the Rotary's Crippled Children's Clinic, which we now know as Wiregrass Rehabilitation Center. Perhaps nobody has ever lived in the eye of the community more than Harry Hall. Harry passed away in 1994, but what he did for Dothan and its neighboring cities will never be forgotten.
I remember a story that Pop told me about during the Great Depression when he was working at the Dothan Eagle, and because of the tough economic times, the editor came to him and wanted to cut his salary. And rather than accept that cut in salary, Pop told him he would resign, and then left Dothan on a steamship and went to New York City, where he went and met with the editor for the New York Times and asked for a job. And of course the editor almost laughed at him, saying that with these times we're just trying not to fire people, we're certainly not hiring anybody. Well, Pop, being creative and tenacious, offered to work for a month for no pay, and if the editor liked his work, then he could hire him, and if he didn't like his work, he wouldn't have to pay him. And as a result, he worked at the New York Times for several years before he came back to Dothan and went back to work at the Dothan Eagle, bringing his experience and knowledge that he had gained in New York. And so he would never settle for anything less than what he thought was just right and perfect. And he was always applying that principle to making Dothan better. And that's part of the reason that he formed Dothan Federal Savings and Loan, is that when he was working in the real estate development business and the mortgage servicing business, he saw a need that there was nobody in Dothan with that kind of a loan business, and he wanted there to be one. He wanted to be able to make loans and help people finance things. And so he did it, and it was all in the sense of helping people, which is a calling he always had, even to the point of forming the biracial study club or study group, and with the idea of bringing people together to make Dothan a better place, even in the midst of tough racial tensions in the country. His idea was we can make Dothan better, and he got in and did it. And he was always hands-on and always creative, and would get outside the box to figure out how to make things happen that needed to happen. And I have always been inspired by that, because there's always a solution. There's always a way to do it if you just put your mind to it. A man came to him in hard times and wanted to sell his farm to Pop. And Pop said, well, I don't want to buy it. I'm not in the market for that. And the gentleman said, well, I can't feed my animals, I can't feed my family, I've got to sell it and go do something else. And Pops gave him a list of 3 people, said, go talk to these gentlemen, they might buy it. And the man talked to all 3, came back, said, nobody will buy it, I don't know what else to do. And Pop said, well then, what do you want for your farm? And the man gave him a price, and Pop paid that price and bought the farm. And 2 years later, they condemned Highway 431 through the middle of that property, and then about 2 years after that, they built the circle going the other way. And so, just trying to help people, Pop had ended up with great real estate, but never with the goal of speculating on how to make money. He was just trying to help people. And that later allowed him to contribute the land on one of those corners to the Edith C. Hall Memorial Fund, which supports a chair at the Candler School of Theology at Emory University to send people through seminary. So he always found a way to help people, and when it came back on him in the form of a blessing, then he would figure out a way to help people even more. And so he was a powerful force. He could always figure out how to make things better for people, and in everything he did.
Accepting this honor tonight on behalf of his grandfather is his grandson, Harry Hall.
I want to thank all of you for this great honor for my grandfather on behalf of the entire Hall family. When I was growing up, I only knew my grandfather as that man who would make us what he called 3-nickel steak and then make us chocolate milkshakes afterwards as we spent the night at his house and stayed up all night playing. And it wasn't until much later that I realized that he was an innovator and was so deeply committed to making everyone around him better off. And when I was faced with a hurdle or a problem or anything in my life that at the time seemed insurmountable, I would come and talk to him and share it with him, and immediately I would see his eyes sparkle with what I now realize were all the possibilities of how to get past that problem or how to even turn it into an opportunity. And he would share those things with me, and I look back now and realize that he had such creativity and drive to make everything into something good. And as I got older and in high school would go by to see him, he would have me help him deliver pecans to someone who couldn't get out anymore, but he knew they liked pecans. And he would have me take some kind of candy that he found somewhere obscure, and we would deliver it somewhere to Wesley Manor to somebody who loved that kind of candy. And he was devoted to other people throughout his life. When I finally decided I was going to go to law school, I went to see him about it, as I did with many things in my life. And I always remember what he told me, which was, that's good that you're going to be a lawyer, but help people. No matter what you do or where you go, help people. And the thing that strikes me the most about this honor and about those who've been honored tonight and last time they did this is that it's not about tall buildings. It's not about wealth. It's not about social standing. It's about how much good people can do here, and those being honored have left enormous footprints for us, and we all can do good. If we focus and drive ahead the way Pop always taught us to do, we can all change the world and make it a better place. And on behalf of the Hall family, I want to thank all of you in the chamber for this tremendous honor. Thank you very much.
Our final laureate has roots that reach deep into Dothan's history. In 1962, he started to work for Smiths Incorporated of Dothan, the largest mechanical contracting firm in the area. By 1970, he had 2 employees and had purchased the firm, and he was the president of the company. His career includes over 50 years of business ventures that have provided workforce benefits for thousands of area residents and economic development benefits to all who live and work in Dothan, Houston County, the state of Alabama, and our country. Our next laureate we honor is John Holman Watson.
John Holman Watson came from humble beginnings. Born in 1938, John eventually found himself at Auburn University. John was a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army, serving during the Berlin crisis. In 1962, John began work for Smiths Incorporated, a large mechanical contracting firm. By 1970, John didn't just work there, he was an owner and the president. John has, to say the least, been a successful businessman. He's been involved in all kinds of ventures: Aladan, USA Yeast, South Alabama Brick, Behavioral Health Systems, and Twitchell. He's also involved in the ownership of many other companies. If we mention them all, we might still be here for breakfast. But a few include Wiregrass Gin, Marty Robbins Roofing, Hudson Office Supply, and Watson & Downs Investments. In 1966, John joined a group to build and operate Marriott brand hotels in the Southeast. Today, those properties total 21. And from all those ventures came jobs and community investment. John's civic service is just as impressive. A former president of the Dothan Area Chamber of Commerce, John served on Dothan by Design and on the board of Houston Academy, the Boys and Girls Club, and he is an elder at Evergreen Presbyterian Church. He is a Dothan Rotary Club Paul Harris recipient, honored as past chairman of the State Ethics Commission by the Alabama legislature. And he's already a member of the Alabama Business Hall of Fame. But despite his success, John has never swayed from those humble beginnings in Dale County. John Holman Watson, a proven businessman, is still, to those who know him, just a good friend.
When you think of Mr. John Watson, I often reflect back to Casey Stengel, who was the great late manager of the New York Yankees, where he said he never played a ball game without his man. Well, his man was Yogi Berra. And when I think of John Watson and the Dothan community, there's not a lot of things that don't happen without our man, Mr. Watson. He has been very instrumental in so many projects throughout Dothan's history and economic development, impacted with advice, support, whatever was needed to make a project happen. And it's reflective of why we have the economic development diversity in our community today. Whether it's saving a company like Twitchell, helping recruit a new industry through a project lead when we were able to locate Southeastern Sheet Metal here from Cincinnati to expand their second plant, whether it was locating the world's largest fire hose manufacturer, KFH Industries. He was instrumental in helping us bring those there. That's just a small example of that, but then the small business support that he's been able to support and advise so many small business people in our community. It's had a tremendous impact on our area, and his continual, quiet, behind-the-scenes contributions to so many civic organizations and nonprofits to help them do the work that is necessary to help so many individuals and touch so many lives. It's just a blessing to have his impact in there. And I'll tell you, John's a renowned tennis player, and anybody that doesn't know that doesn't know him well enough. But I'll tell you one thing, when he's on a tennis court, he's going to win, and he's going to play another set. Until he wins, he's always going to win. So that's that attitude that carries over to his community and civic involvement.
Please join me in congratulating Mr. John Watson.
And I noticed most of the other people had notes, and I don't have any, so I guess you're glad because you won't be here very long. But I would like to thank the Dothan Business Hall of Fame Board, the Dothan Area Young Professionals, the Chamber of Commerce, and most of all, the people that nominated me for this honor. this is truly an honor to be recognized in your hometown, and it's really, truly an honor to be associated with the people that are being inducted tonight, and also with the ones that were inducted last year. Gail and I moved to Dothan 50 years ago. But to go back a little bit before that, I am from Newton, right up the road here. I grew up there. I went to high school there. I know there's not a high school there now, but there was when I graduated. And I decided when I was in the 9th grade that I wanted to be a mechanical engineer and study engineering at Auburn. Well, I started saving my money to go to college, and when I graduated from high school, I had saved enough money to go to school for an entire year. But really, I thought that I was going to get my education paid for by playing football for Auburn and earning a scholarship. Well, I went out for football at Auburn trying to get a scholarship. I was small, but I was slow. So that did not work out. But by chance, my first quarter at Auburn, I learned about the co-op program. The co-op program is a program where you work one quarter and go to school one, every other quarter. That was the best thing that ever happened to me. After my first quarter in Auburn, that winter quarter, I was in Huntsville, Alabama, working for Redstone Arsenal. Now, can you picture this? A 17-year-old kid from Newton in Huntsville at Redstone Arsenal working in a top secret area designing rockets. Well, you probably have heard that Al Gore started the internet. Well, I started the space program. But the co-op program really is a great program. You get to work in the area of your major and find out if that's what you want to do or not. And also you gain valuable experience, and at the same time you earn money to go to college. Gail and I moved to Dothan some 50 years ago this coming October. Dothan is such a great place to raise a family, to do business. I mean, this is really, really a great business climate here in Dothan. And we feel very, very blessed to have an opportunity to raise our family here and also to have our children and our grandchildren live here. Well, being a tennis player, I learned a long, long time ago that to win in doubles, you know what you got to do to win in doubles? It's real easy. It's your partner. You got to pick the right partner. Well, that is really even more important in doing business. And I think I've been very blessed. I've picked some very, very good, smart, hard-working partners. They're the reason I'm here tonight, not me. I've got so many partners that you would not believe their work ethic and what they do. So I'm very blessed to have them here. This community is a very pro-business community, and I've had a lot of support over the years. And I think the most support I've had is from my wife Gail and my family, and I really, really do appreciate that. I know that this is honoring me and the other four gentlemen tonight, and it is a great honor. But I want to tell you how much I appreciate each one of you coming tonight to help us celebrate this event. I'm very blessed to live in Dothan, and thank you.
Well, that's going to conclude our induction ceremony tonight. What an incredible class we've inducted tonight. Let's give them a round of applause again. Incredible class. Amazing. I'll tell you a story. When I had a chance, when I got elected to the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, and many of you have been in the new chamber building on Main Street, I had a chance to walk the halls, and along the hallway on one side of the building there are the pictures of all the former chairmen all the way back to 1919. And I thought one of the most amazing things to me as I walk up and down that hall and I look, and you look in each of their faces and their eyes, and you see all of the hard work and, like you said, the commitment and the dedication of this wonderful community. You look through it, and I just, like Harry said, the footprints, the footsteps, the shoulders we stand on today in this room, we're truly blessed by each and every one of those individuals that have done very well in this community. But one fitting tribute to these men tonight is that of our 5 laureates tonight, we had 4 that were chairmen of the Chamber of Commerce. And the years of their service were 1942, 1948, 1957, and 1988. That's amazing, amazing statistic. Let's give them a round of applause for their service to our chamber, being the business catalyst here. As I said, congratulations to all of our laureates. This event could not be put on without the hard work of many, many people at the Dothan Area Chamber of Commerce, Pepe Foods, Wiregrass Church, and a host of others. But we can't do this without your support. We want to thank you tonight for attending this grand celebration and a great honor as we celebrate the success and progress of our business community here in Dothan. Thank you for attending. I give God the praise and glory for everything we have in this great community. We're richly blessed in Dothan, Alabama, and the Wiregrass area. Have a good evening. Safe travels. The laureates' families, please stay back. We've got some pictures we want to conduct. Have a good evening and Godspeed.